And where the fuck does that take me to next? Dissociating, apparently. Partially because of the entire vlog that I just recorded, which makes sense. Partially because while recording that one I thought of something that I was like, this also sucks, I also want to talk about this. Oh yeah, I remember. Thank you to whichever part of me pulled that information forwards. Okay. Well, this is going to be real fun. So one of the things that's been really normalised to us, I'm starting to see, because with people pleasing and fawn mode, preventing conflict and preventing abandonment were like a life or death necessity. I didn't really have a choice in it for a long time. While living in survival mode, I just responded to every situation in the way that kept us safe and alive, and I didn't have anything like the understanding and the grasp on reality that I have now. I didn't, fuck man, my life didn't even feel real. It's like I was playing a video game or something. I was so detached. And there's a lot of ways I responded that I've always felt very uncomfortable with. And now that I'm looking at, I understand better. And I understand how it was protective and defensive in every case. So I'm not ashamed of any part of me for responding in the ways that we had learnt to do to survive. That was all we could do. I'm also filled with a lot of fucking grief that we didn't have someone to tell us that we didn't have to respond like that anymore to be safe. There's a lot of situations where we've responded by kind of accepting abusive people around, by not immediately disowning somebody for their treatment of us, of our friends. I have one friend that their mother is abusive, and growing up we were always very smiley and very polite with their mum, and I think she quite liked us. It never felt good, but we didn't really think about it, and it's only in the last 2 years that, well, then Valen, I think, was the last person to speak to her, and a friend, while talking to her on Skype, her mum came into the room and she asked her mum to leave, and her mum just blanked her and kept talking loudly on the phone. So then Valen was just like, she told you to leave, and she was like, what did he say? And he was like, leave, and both us and the friend saying leave until she left. And that felt a lot better, and I wish we could have responded that way always. It still felt terrifying to watch, but I'm really glad he did. And then there's other things, like what Vince talked about the other day. One of his few regrets. I think I probably have more regrets along those lines. It was a big part of how I'd respond to just try and keep the peace. That was the way I was taught, really, to always be diplomatic and polite. But the problem is what I was taught as that was actually just minimising abusers' behaviour, and self-abandoning and abandoning the people they'd abused and condoning the abuse towards them. And that's been so fucking normalised to us that we just had no idea that was even a thing other than how it felt. And we were so detached from how we felt that like there was just so much anaesthetic, I guess, in our brain for the constant fucking stab wounds that we felt from this, that it's only recently that we've started to see and understand what that does and what that means. And you know, give me a time machine, it would be very fucking different, but those don't exist, and all I can do is learn and change my behaviour now. And the way that we responded to this friend by like hanging out with somebody who was really toxic to them and not just cutting them off and being like, dude, that's really fucked up. You really fucked up the way you treated our friends, and that's not okay. No, we didn't, like, they were really toxic to us as well. And it was just so normal that it's like we didn't even realise that people could behave differently. It was just, that's just what it's like hanging around with most people. And now I realise that it's, you know, it's not normal. And it is right to say that treatment of us, of our friends, isn't okay, and to cut the person off. We were always really told off, and like it was always a big problem for us to defend ourselves from abuse. Like one dickhead that we would have called a friend when we were younger had just a lot of really fucked up SA behaviours that all the time. And when we were like young teenagers, I think we were like 11, 12, 13, 14, up to like 18, 19 maybe, I don't know, before we like cut him off. But we used to have a lot of fights when we were young teenagers with this person, where I would like physically slap him across the fucking face for touching us and hit him. A wall vaulter broke his finger once because he just kept grabbing at us, and it was constant, and he didn't stop, and he didn't listen to us saying, you're making us really fucking uncomfortable. Triggered as all hell, but not realising it at the time. But whenever we had fights with him, I guess Mum was taught to not be an inconvenience to anyone too. So that was what was prioritised, that we have such a lovely friendship with him, that he's such a sweet boy, and that we should make up. And any time we did try and cut him off, it was always like, she seemed so shocked and so disheartened, and she really got on well with him and was really sort of exuberantly affectionate with him and sweet and like demonstrative that she cared, and that we should always work out arguments as if that's what it was. And it was kind of always like this, with ever escalating abusers and abuse, and we just got so used to that dynamic that that's just what we do. We block out how we feel and we justify their behaviour. And of course, a lot of parts of us learned to do that, and a lot of parts of us went the other way and became really overtly violent in response to any SA, which I'm glad about, and I think that that's the right way to go. If somebody doesn't listen to your words saying fuck off, then they deserve to be punched. They should listen to the fucking words. So I'm really proud of us for the parts of us that learned to actually have our backs and protect ourselves. And it was always frowned upon and treated like we were doing the wrong thing. So when it came to this friend, we completely did the same thing that had always been done to us that we'd learnt to do. And we abandoned her and communicated that the toxic behaviour she'd received at the hands of this person was okay by hanging out with them as if it was nothing. And I really see that now, and we just didn't even see it at the time. It was so fucking normal. It's like go outside and see a tree, have the same emotional response, you know, because everything's so cut off, and that is so usual. So I'm thinking a lot about the sort of things that have been passed to us. And I feel really fucking angry. And I don't see the point in blame in a lot of parts of me. And I'm fucking furious. I do see the point in being angry. I think that I have every right to be angry. I don't know what to do with it, but there you go, that was fucked up. It's good that we learned to protect ourselves and have our own backs. I wish we'd known sooner how to hold abusive people accountable and cut off contact with them and communicate clearly that their behaviour wasn't okay. And I'm glad we know now. And I'm really, really fucking sorry to the parts of us who have always known that and have always been exiled because of their knowledge of our value and belief that we deserve better when we did, and we just didn't know that that wasn't the wrong thing to do. That's fucked up. And we should always have been supported, and they should always, every abuser that's ever responded that way to us should have been told to fuck off a long time ago with no questions asked. And we should always have stood by that and told everyone who was abusive to us and our friends to fuck off. And it's definitely something we're never going to go back on going forwards. And it hurts to know that we didn't always know that, and we didn't always have the ability to hold those boundaries or see what was wrong with that treatment. It's a lot of grief. A lot of fucking rage. I see why, so I'll find whatever I can do to support us, holding on to that grief and rage for as long as it needs. And the least I can fucking do now is stand by every part of us and what we feel and have our fucking backs in holding it. I'm really proud of the parts of us that did tell that person to fuck off eventually, absolutely as clearly as he deserved to hear it.